Hello, everybody. My name is Rina DeFrancesco, and today I would like to discuss Asch's conformity experiments. What were Asch's conformity experiments? Asch's conformity experiments were a series of experiments conducted in the 1950s that demonstrated the strong effects of social pressure on how we alter or conform our beliefs. These experiments were conducted by Dr. Solomon Asch, where he asked 50 male students from Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania to participate in an experiment that would supposedly test their vision. Each participant would be tested among 7 other participants. However, unbeknownst to the voluntary student participants, the other 7 participants in the room were not actually participants at all, but were instead placed there purposely by Asch to respond to the vision test in a way that was agreed upon before the experiment took place. What did these experiments comprise of? The actual vision test composed of a line test, and the participants were asked to match one line from a series of lines to a particular target line. This test was rather easy and the correct answer obvious, which is why the results are so evident of conformity. In each experiment, the real participant would be placed at the end so as they would give their answer after all the hired participants gave their incorrect answers. The emphasis here is that the hired participants were giving incorrect answers, while the actual correct answer was very obvious. Asch ran 18 experiments overall and manipulated 12 of the experiments for the hired participants to purposely give incorrect answers. He also set up an experiment where none of the participants were hired, so that all the participants in the experiment would be real participants. He used this as a control experiment. What were the results of the experiments? Of the 12 experiments where the hired participants were instructed to give the wrong answer, 75% of the real participants conformed their answers, while only 25% did not. In comparison, less than 1% of participants gave the incorrect answer in the control experiment. So, what do these findings mean? After the experiment, when the real participants were told the truth, they were interviewed and asked if they truly believed that the answers they chose were correct. Most of the participants admitted that they did not actually believe their answers were the right ones, but were instead afraid of being ridiculed for choosing an answer different than the answer everyone else in the room had chosen. However, a few of the participants answered that they actually did believe their given answers were correct. This led Asch and later scientists to draw 2 conclusions. One conclusion is that people conform because they want to fit in. This conclusion relates to social perception, which is the study of how we perceive others and how we think others perceive us in social situations. Many of the participants conformed their answers because they did not want to be perceived as strange by the other participants in the room. The second conclusion is that people conform because they trust others around them to be more informed than they themselves are. This conclusion can be indirectly related to social tuning, which is a process where people tend to adopt others' behaviors and attitudes. As some of the participants admitted that they believed their obviously incorrect answer was correct, this demonstrates social tuning and how we adopt other people's opinions as our own. There were some biases in this experiment. All the participants used were male and of approximately the same age. Scientists have also pointed out that the test Ash used was incredibly simple, and easy tests such as this vision test are not often encountered in real life situations. Other scientists have voiced the opinion that the experiments and their findings could be related to the cultural climate of the 1950s, where most of the United States was conservative and expected to conform to quote unquote normal behaviors. Despite these criticisms and possible biases, the experiments still bring up examples of conformity in our society. Some food for thought. Think about the findings of these experiments. Can you think of real life examples where you have or someone you know has conformed their beliefs because they wanted to fit in or because they trusted the opinions of other people more than they trusted their own opinions? One example I can think of is how I and friends I have spoken to have all agreed that if a teacher asks the class to pick an answer to a question and the majority of students raise their hands to agree to a certain answer, we will often raise our hands as well, even when we do not know if the answer is correct. I believe one of the reasons why me and my friends do this has to do with impression management, where we act in a certain way because we want others to like us and to perceive us in a positive manner. When I see the majority of the class raising their hands for a certain answer, I know that I do not want to come off as someone foolish, so I conform my response so as not to come off this way. And if we really think about it, we can come up with many examples where the findings of Asch's experiments ring true in our daily lives.